who's definitely advanced given his birth. Start off with a little Jairata Madhava, and then we'll get into business. Jaya Madhava Kunja Bihari Javiram Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Gopi Radha Sodanandana Rajajanma Ramana Yasodanandana Rajajanandana Jamatira Vanachari Vanachari Amunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Kunjavirari Radha Kunjabihari Jai Ho! So here we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Samam Bonam, text 82, chapter 82, text 40. For some reason, Vedabase isn't working for me today. I don't know why. But we have it here on vanisource.org for those who can't see. And I'll chant through the Sanskrit. Then somebody else would like to chant the Sanskrit. Then we'll do word for word and go from there. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tito jayam udhirayat. Bhagavam stastata bhuta. Can't see. Vivikta upasangataha Ashlishya namayam prishtva Prahasan idam abravit Bhagavam stastata bhuta
Bhagavantastata Bhuta
Vivikta upasangataha
Vivikta Upasangata
Ashlishya namayam prishtva
Shishyanam Mamyayam Prishva
Prahasan idam abravit.
Rahasam Idam Abravit.
Somebody else?
Hare Krishna. Bhagavanstasu tatha bhuta
Bhagavam stastata bhuta
Bhagavanstastatha bhuta Vivikta upasangata Ashlishya namayam Prishtva Prahasan idam abravit
One more.
Bhagavatam stastata bhuta
Ramstastata bhuta
vivikta upasangataha
vivikta upasangata
ashlishyanam prishtva
ashlishyana prishta
prahasan idam abravit.
prasan idam abravit. Word for word. Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
the Supreme Lord.
the Supreme Lord,
Ta,
ta,
them.
them,
Tata bhutaha,
tata bhutaha,
being in such a state.
being in such a state,
Vivikte,
vivite,
in a secluded place.
in a secluded place,
Upasangataha,
upasangataha,
going up to.
going up to
Ashlisha,
ashlisha,
embracing.
embracing,
Anamayam,
anamayam,
health.
health,
Prishtva,
prishtva,
asking about.
asking about,
Prahasan,
rahasam,
laughed.
la,
Idam,
idam,
this.
this,
Abravit,
abravit,
said.
said.
Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Translation: The Supreme Lord approached the gopis in a secluded place as they stood in their ecstatic trance. After embracing each of them and inquiring about their well being, he laughed and spoke as follows. Purport: Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that Krishna expanded himself by his Vibhuti Shakti to embrace each of the gopis individually, thus waking each of them from her trance. He inquired, "Are you now relieved of your pain and separation?" and laughed to help lighten their spirits. Om Ajnanatirmanandasya Gananjanashalakayam Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Tati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pachayane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'll read it one more time. The Supreme Lord approached the gopis in a secluded place as they stood in their ecstatic trance. After embracing each of them and inquiring about their well-being, he laughed and spoke as follows. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, Krishna expanded himself by his Vibhuti Shakti to embrace each of the gopis individually, just thus waking each of them from her trance. He inquired, "Are you now relieved of your pain and separation?" and laughed to help lighten their spirits. So, fantastic little verse. And first thing that I thought about in reading it was the fact that the gopis are there in their ecstatic trance, and that's what they're made for, is to be in ecstatic trance on Krishna. And in fact, that's what we're all made for, right? Is to share in this ecstatic relationship with Krishna. Right? Krishna, it says that Krishna was one, and then he expanded himself for his own enjoyment, basically. And what is the highest realization of that enjoyment for him? It's when there's a loving relationship there between him and his devotees, his little jivas, that's us. And so it's our natural position to be in this similar ecstatic trance on Krishna, in this ecstatic relationship with Krishna. This is what we're made for. This is how we're meant to live. This is how we're meant to enjoy. I have a cat. I know that can be a little controversial, but the fact is that it's taught me a lot. And one of the main things that I've realized about the cat is it likes to hunt. It really enjoys hunting. And that's if you really watch it, if you look at it, then you can see that that's what it's made for, is for hunting. It's got incredible dexterity. It can climb up pretty much anything with the claws on its hand, climb up trees and all kinds of things. It's got these claws built into it that it can seize animals whenever it likes. Um, yeah, incredibly agile and just a machine. It's essentially a hunting machine developed in such a way that it can perfectly capture animals and eat them. And it's what makes it happy. If you watch any Jackson Galaxy video or any video on cats, and you'll see that one of the main things that he recommends is playing with it in such a way that it can exercise its hunting capabilities. And so I was just thinking how that relates to myself as well. That when I'm happy is when my loving capabilities are exercised. And that's why kirtan and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with devotees, is so nourishing, because it brings out this loving propensity that I naturally have in myself. And something that's more than a propensity, it's what I'm actually made for. What I'm made to do is to love Krishna and to be in this loving state, at all times with him and with his devotees. And so I noticed that in myself, that I have this loving tendency, this loving nature woven into the fabric of my being. And when that's exercised, then I'm happy. And when it's not exercised, or when it's exercised in such a way that I'm under the illusion that it's being catered to, but in reality it's not. It's a facade. It's something transitory. Then there may be some immediate sensation or some immediate excitement, but ultimately I get more depressed. And so that's what we see now in the world, especially nowadays. So many different devices and platforms through which we can have an imitation of this loving exchange, right? We can have an imitation of receiving affection through getting likes on an Instagram post, or an imitation of having relationships with people through the phone. Even though we've never actually met them, and even though if we did, then we'd likely find out that whoever we're maybe idolizing through the computer actually doesn't really care about us and is really only concerned about themselves. And that's why they got to the position that they're at, which is having all these people admire them and show affection towards them. And so the material world as it is this gigantic fake out, right? Where one after the other, we have these things put in front of us that appear to show the potential to satisfy our loving propensity. But again and again and again, we're completely let down and have the rug pulled out from underneath our feet. And so, what the Bhagavatam does by Srila Prabhupada's mercy is very simply it lays out the alternative, and in fact, the only real way in which our loving propensity can be fully satisfied, in which the fabric of our existence, this need to love and to feel loved, can be completely catered to. And obviously, as we know, the only way that that can truly happen is in our relationship with Krishna. And that's what's being shown here, that the gopis are fully satisfied in their ecstatic trance on Krishna. It's their natural position, and I'd like to argue it's our natural position. And don't need to go very far to see it. As I said, that tendency is always there. Every single book, every single movie, every single magazine, not just now, but forever, it's always hinting towards this loving relationship. So many other things have changed over the course of human history, but this obsession that we all seem to have with love, with relationships, it's always there throughout everything. And if that's not a huge indicator, if that's not the big clue, that we have in terms of, why am I here? What is the purpose of life? And I don't know what is, right? And so there it is. It's staring us in the face, and for the most part, we're actively seeking it out, right? It's just so many fake outs are put in front of us that we're misled time and time again into what the Bhagavatam describes as the stool of material enjoyment, right? I saw Adi Purush Prabhu grimace there. And it's a real thing, though. If we really think about it, what's the difference between an animal getting enjoyment from eating stool and thinking this is so nice, and us getting enjoyment from, say, sex life, thinking, oh, this is so nice, it's so enjoyable. In reality, what is it? It's the contact of the senses with their objects. Animals enjoying eating decaying flesh. We're enjoying, you know, our flesh rubbing up against someone else's flesh. But in reality, it's the same exact thing that's happening in essence, right? It's simply sensory pleasures. And that's why Rishabh says in his teachings to his sons, Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kastan kamanarhita vid bhujam ye tapo divyam putrike yena satvam sudyed yasmat brahmasaukyam tvanantam. That the real way to get actual enjoyment, the real way to get actual happiness, love, is tapo divyam, not simply catering to the senses and their endless wants and desires, which ultimately leave us in a awkward and ultimately precarious situation, but accepting hardship, divine hardship, for the pleasure of Krishna, the spiritual master in Krishna, tapo divyam, divine austerity, by uh, by not catering to our senses, by not running towards the mirage, the fake out that the material world is constantly presenting us as to how we can be happy, as to how we can satisfy this need, this ever present burning need for love, but instead turning towards the scriptures, turning towards Krishna, and seeking our love out there, seeking our pleasure and His pleasure, and seeing what we can do for Him, then we can experience not just happiness, but Brahma Saukyam, this divine, everlasting happiness that continues forever. So it's such a great boon to have these scriptures here and to have them laid out in such a way that we're not being cheated anymore. The whole material world, again, just cheated one after the other. We should go here. We should get the car that'll make us happy. We should get this job that will make us happy. We should get this girlfriend or boyfriend that will make us happy. Again, and again, not just this lifetime, but millions, billions, and billions of lifetimes. We're running here and there, trying to satisfy this burning quest for love. And again and again, the carrot stays just out of our grasp. And it turns out in the end, as we lay in our deathbeds, that it was never there even to begin with. But here we see a different route that one can take. Instead of this endless treadmill of material suffering, running after things and never really getting anywhere, we can be in ecstatic trance on Krishna and immediately see the difference. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janiyatya Suvayargyam Gyanam Chairahoitikam. By rendering devotional service to Krishna, immediately one feels a sense of knowledge and detachment from the world. Immediately one can see the difference, right? And we often forget that as devotees who've been practicing for a long time, perhaps, that when we first started coming around, right? We were amazed, amazed, like in awe and reverence. That once we, maybe there was some doubt at first for some of us, but then once we actually allowed ourselves to accept what's being put in front of us and take it at face value, then there's this sense of amazement that, oh my God, there's so much truth, there's so much knowledge, and so much beauty here. And then automatically in that realization, we feel so much detachment towards the stool that we were previously associating with and can see it for what it is. Oh my, what was I doing with my time? And this is just such an obvious choice to feel actual love, to feel actual satisfaction, to associate with people who aren't just trying to get something out of me, and see what they can milk me for, and that actually don't have any real genuine care for me. No, here I see that this is actually it. This is the love that I've been searching for in the boyfriend or the girlfriend or the friends. This is the real camaraderie that I've been looking for. This is the real enjoyment that I've searched after so many times, that I've tried to get in so many ways, but so many times it's been pulled out from underneath me and turned out to cause so much more suffering. This is the real thing. If I put my attention here, then I can really enjoy. I can really feel love. I can really feel satisfaction, and that's a fact, But of course, as things go on, as time passes, then we may lose that initial awe and reverence and that excitement. But the fact is that it remains. And for anybody who's fallen away for some time and then come back, then you get it, every time that you choose to make that choice again towards Krishna. So the hard part then is uh, is maintaining that excitement, that level of of uh, maintaining the state through which we can actually be enjoying Krishna consciousness in the right way, and not let it get dull and boring. So that requires work, right? Just like anything, if you have a relationship with somebody but you don't put the time in, then what's going to happen to that relationship? It's going to fade away, ultimately. And so Krishna is the same way. Krishna is not so cheap that we can just, do it part time and not really give ourselves to him and expect that, we can enjoy the bliss and the satisfaction that comes through his presence, right? We need to put the work in ourselves too. But luckily, incredible lecture by Srila Prabhupada. I believe it's a minute and 40 seconds long. It was an arrival address in Atlanta, and he's talking about. He goes into saying, "I've been to many temples, but I see that yours is the best." And everyone says, "Jai, Jai." Everyone's ecstatic, and uh, and he's looking at the deities. Gaur Nitai are there on the altar, and he starts talking about the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And he talks about Bhagavad Gita, Sarmadharma Praditya, Amekam Sharanam. He says, Krishna is demanding you should surrender to me. You must surrender. But Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, they do not demand. They don't demand surrender. You simply, uh, what is it? Worship the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and uh, and they'll take care of you. If you simply engage in their mission, then you'll be taken care of. Then you'll be able to experience the love that is inherent within this Krishna consciousness movement. You'll be able to experience the ecstatic trance that's being mentioned here, that the gopis are experiencing, right? If we simply engage in the service of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. But what does that mean? It means we have to live on the edge a little bit. That's Jayadvaita Maharaj's prerogative. I remember I was in a class with him, and it was a bunch of new people, and someone asked, "Where do you live? Like, where do you stay? I'd like to hear more from you." And he said, "On the edge. I live on the edge." And so we should take that to heart. That's the secret sauce in Krishna consciousness. If you want to maintain that level of excitement and and keep that beauty and get a taste frequently of this ecstatic trance that's being mentioned here, then we need to push ourselves a little bit. We need to stay on the edge. We can't let ourselves sink into our comfort zone. It requires a constant. You need to put yourself on the front lines in danger. Prabhupada says, just like any farm boy from the cornfields of Nebraska or something, could take up arms, join the army of Lord Chaitanya, and in that way become a hero, sacrifice himself. He can get a medal of honor, do something extraordinary for Lord Chaitanya, and he could become a hero. In the same way, us fallen jivas, of which there are an unlimited number, incredible amount of number of jivas, billions and billions and billions. We're all just these little, farm boys, basically, in the vast expanse of the material universe, this kind of farm of grotesque material enjoyment. Any one of us can become a hero on the front lines of Lord Chaitanya's army. And by so doing, we become recognized by the president. Who's the president? It's Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya, president, prime minister. And if we get their attention, then nothing can stop us. Then we'll get an unlimited supply of fuel for our train ride back to Goloka Vrindavan. They'll personally supply it. There's no doubt about it. I remember I was speaking to Krishna Kripa Prabhu, who is someone I very deeply respect and look up to in my Krishna consciousness. And he has now for some years had a vrat that he goes out on Harinam every single day for at least 3 hours a day. And I asked him one time, because he's quite old, late 60s, I would say. And I asked him, where do you get this energy from that you can go out, every single day like this? And he got a little emotional about it. And he said, Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is supplying this. And look at somebody like Adi Purushavu in his 70s. And he's not tired at all. He's ecstatic every single day. And where is he getting his energy from? He's on the front lines. On the front lines. Look at him. He's got the apron on. He doesn't stop. He's living on the edge constantly. That's the secret. Look at it. I mean, it's in front of our faces, but it's a little uncomfortable to be out in the cold when it's going to be snowing and it's sub-zero temps. Next week it's going to be 10 degrees or something. Probably real feel even lower, but you can bet your bottom dollar that Adi's going to be out there in Tompkins Square Park, giving the mercy to people. Like, it's a secret. You want to be happy in Krishna consciousness, you have to sacrifice, just like in material life. You want to be happy, you want to have a big house, you want to have a nice car, you want to enjoy in that way, then you got to sacrifice. You know, and so we don't get off easy as devotees. In one sense, we do, of course. We got the greatest literatures in the world, the greatest process in the world, chanting, dancing, feasting. But if you really want to get the real thing, if you really want this ecstatic trance that's being mentioned here, then we have to sacrifice. We have to suffer a little bit for Krishna. And that suffering is the greatest enjoyment, right? Bhakti Vinod says that the suffering I endure in the service of my spiritual master, that is my greatest happiness. And so it's like a cold plunge. It's like a cold shower, jumping in the river, the Ganges or something. And before we do it, there's always that deep sense of hesitance and, oh, I don't know if I want to do this really. It's gonna hurt, or it's gonna be uncomfortable. But if we just dive into the nectar ocean of Lord Chaitanya, which may seem a little cold and uncomfortable at first, then after a few moments we'll see, oh, this is actually the greatest enjoyment. This is real life. This is real love. This is real friendship. This is real camaraderie. This is what I've been searching for my entire life. And so that's how the world works. It's really simple. There's that mirage out in the distance that we see, where we think we're going to get enjoyment, we think we're going to get love, we think we're going to get friendship and camaraderie and all those things. But it's a fake out, and we've seen it in millions of lifetimes, and we've also seen it easily in this lifetime, either personally or watching it play out for other people. So that's on one side, and on the other side, we have this ecstatic trance on Krishna that the gopis are experiencing. And of course, it seems maybe at first like, oh, maybe that's a bit uncomfortable, a bit scary. But if we actually jump in and we live on that edge, then there's no doubt about it. We feel completely happy, completely satisfied. There's no loss, and the gain is tremendous, as Ramroy Prabhu says. So we'll cut it off there and see if there are any questions, comments.
Hare Krishna, Anupam Prabhu. A quick follow-up question on the state of enthusiasm. When we try to stay enthusiastic in bhakti and try to live on the edge, sometimes we may drift into a burnt out state of consciousness. Have you heard of burnout? Do you know what it is? You heard of a thing like that? Can you
Yeah,
talk why that thing happens and how to avoid it? How to get out of that?
yeah, it's a good point. There's definitely nuance to it, right? In that we can't just throw ourselves recklessly into service, whatever it may be. That there needs to be two things. One is moderation, right? And that we need to understand our limitations, and hand in hand with that is honesty, right? And that we need to be honest with ourselves and see, why am I doing this in reality? Am I doing it so that I can get some recognition, so I can get some praise? Because what I've seen is that's often the thing that drives people past their um, their um, their capacity, is when it's coming more from a place of recognition and wanting to be praised than from actually wanting to please one's spiritual master. It might be a radical thing to say, but that honesty has saved a lot of people I know, and it to an extent has saved me at times. When I think about why I'm doing things, and that comes with maturity, of course, too. But maybe Adi Purush Prabhu has something on the subject as well.
No, he doesn't know what a burnout is. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, how do you not get burned out, Adi Prabhu? What keeps you from getting burned out?
Hare Krishna, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sweet class and such an important question about love. About love, if I'm thinking I'm doing this for me, I'm attached to the fruits of the action. It might come, and I might come, might not come, and I might get burnt out. But actually, Prabhu already spoke about this very clearly. Who am I doing this for? If there's someone else you're trying to please, then we don't have ourselves in the center. We offer obeisances to the spiritual master, so there's like an awe and reverence and a respect and a admiration and a glorification of the guru. But when we offer obeisances, do we look at Srila Prabhupada and say, Prabhupada, we love you? Right? Is it just some mechanical, submission, or is there actually some desire to show affection? I was walking around the temple room this morning, and I was looking at the different pictures on the wall, and there's one picture with Krishna and Radharani and the 8 principal gopis, and they're all looking at Krishna with this loving glances. And especially there's that one picture with Krishna, and he's standing there playing the flute, and Radharani's sitting at his feet putting some flowers there. And if you look at that picture very carefully, Krishna's loving glance is just so amazing. That we become, in this world, we become selfish. False self, false ego. And we're trying to please the senses or the mind. But if there's love and we're trying to show love for Krishna, then Krishna is pleased, and then as a byproduct, we're actually satisfied. So we're not, even though there might be something that in an ordinary situation might lead to you to feel burnt out, unsatisfied, neglected, uncomfortable. If we're not thinking about ourselves, then even if there's austerity, like you were saying, living on the edge. What's that thing Prabhupada says with the trapeze artist? He's swinging back and forth, and at one point, he lets go of his secure position on one trapeze. Uh-oh, sorry, keep going. And flies through the air, right? He's on the edge, Will Krishna catch us, There has to be sort of like a reckless, abandoning all desire for gain and safety. Krishna says to Arjuna, fight for me. Abandon all desire for gain or safety. When it's an offering for Krishna, then, it's a success. So the answer one, who are we doing it for? Not just what we're doing.
So the answer is not take a break, go on vacation. The answer is do it for Krishna, and the satisfaction will come from within.
If we're taking a break, sleeping or whatever, so that we can serve Krishna, then that becomes devotional service. Right? But love wants to give all, Prabhupada said. Ahetukiya patiyata. Unceasing, unmotivated devotional service to Krishna is the only thing that will satisfy the self.
Okay, and a follow-up question, Adipurusha Prabhu. If somebody is already feeling burnt out, how do they get out of that?
We have to understand how we got into it, right? Everyone has a breaking point, sometimes Krishna will say, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, don't sleep too much or too little, don't eat too much or too little. There's a word that Prabhupada uses, over endeavor. When we're endeavoring beyond our capacity, we want to give everything we can. And then we say, Lord, I'm doing my best, please accept it. And Krishna will accept it. We don't have to drive ourselves crazy. Austerity is appropriate, but there's a point where the austerity might take the form of being realistic. But do our best. We're not afraid of making sacrifice. Austerity is the wealth of the Brahmins. So if there's no sacrifice, no pain, where's the love, right?
Thank you. Chant Hare Krishna and be honest, they say. Okay, let's see. Anupam Prabhu, back to you. Would you like to reflect on that, or would you like other devotees to speak?
Just one thing that came up, I'll say quickly, is Krishna says in Gita, he doesn't say deprive yourself of sleep. He doesn't say deprive yourself of food. He says you should live a balanced life. And so, yeah, you should serve as much as you're able to, but you should also make sure you're eating properly and getting enough sleep. And that stuff will come once you actually are swimming in the waves of love for Krishna. Then you won't have a desire to eat as
And
much.
you should not deprive yourself of love.
Thank you for that beautiful interjection, Bhima Prabhu.
Yeah, live a balanced life for Krishna. My spiritual master says, methodically and dispassionately, we should move forward. Not that we should be on some tear, to change the world. That will come. That'll come naturally if we're methodical in our sadhana and move forward with perseverance. And that power to make a huge impact, to do something huge, will naturally arise within us. Not that it should be forced.
Thank you. Okay, please, open mic.
We also have to realize that that impact is Krishna, not us. There's no amount of austerities that we can perform that Krishna can't perform with a blink of his eye. He could place a gold covered, gold plated, gold leafed Bhagavad Gita in every bedroom, every nightstand in the world. But that's not going to make people read it and then read it and understand that bhakti, love of God, is the answer to all our troubles. They're going to come around because they see us as examples. Because, I mean, think about it. We're all that energy Adi has is our faith in Srila Prabhupada and everything he's told us. Because it's either what Srila Prabhupada has told us or it's the world, Maya. And those two things are pulling, and we have a choice which way we're going to surrender to the pull. So if we always remember that, even in our sleeping, eating, mating, and defending, that we do these on behalf of this, and that we should always, most importantly, reflect, as Srila Prabhupada did, the truth of what we know, as much as we know it, then that will be the greatest impact that we can have. We're all just small little dust specks in this universe. There's nothing great we do, and there's no sacrifice we can perform except to give our heart to Krishna and the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
A technical question in the remaining 1 minute. Can you say the translation again for divine hardship and what that verse was that you quoted?
Yeah, it's Rishabdev's teachings to his sons. Nayam deho deha bhajamnu loke kastankamanahita vidbhujamye tapo divyam putrikayena satvam sudyadyasmad brahmasakyam tonantam. Said, my dear boys, of all the uh, jivas who accept birth in this world, one who's been awarded the human form of life should not work hard day and night simply for sense gratification, which is available even to the dogs and hogs that eat stool. Instead, one should engage in divine austerity, tapo divyam, to attain the transcendental position of devotional service, which is unending, lasts forever.
Hare Krishna. And is there a citation there?
I think it's 5:18:12. You'll see
Thank
it's
you.
one of the first 10 or 12 verses of the Rishabdev's teachings to his sons.
Hare
Tapom
Krishna.
divyam,
Thank you.
Venisha. Tapo austerity
Yeah,
divyam.
Tapo Divyam. Thank
Tapom
you so
divyam.
much.
Krishna. Thank you, Anupam Prabhu. Okay, darshan time. Please engage in the divine austerity of turning on your camera if you can. Thank you.
Bhagavatam samasitam Buddha samaram Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Shivada Muralidhar Gaurachandra Bhagavan Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Lotus feet of our attachment to the lotus feet is a perfection of the result of silence. He opens my dark eyes, fills my heart with trust and approach. He is my Lord. From him I say, by ignorance destroyed. Our spiritual life is mercy. Friend of the poor, Lord of the O Master, be merciful to us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your face is where the love of the three worlds. We take shelter in your lotus feet.
Jai, thank you, Janitai Prabhu and crew. We're going to sign off. Jai Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. Is Anupam Prabhu here? Okay, there he is. Anupam Prabhu, you have a few minutes for the Afterglow?
Yes.
Okay. There's one verse that came to mind for me from Vaisheshika Prabhu. He quotes it often. This is the Jiveta verse, the self-preservation verse. It's a, or stay realistic verse. It says, life's desires should never be aimed at gratifying the senses. So we shouldn't drown in our comfort zone, like Anupam Prabhu said. One should desire to live only because human life enables one to inquire the absolute truth. This should be the goal of life. To live life, what's that word? Jiveta. Where is the word jiveta? Jiveta, self-preservation. In the word for word, you'll see it. Jiveta, self-preservation. So where does self-preservation stop and sense gratification start? That requires intelligence and sincerity. But the principle is that we should take care of our jiveta, self-preservation, so that we can engage in divine austerity, tapodivyam. So the verses in the Bhagavatam, they should be looked at in the context of the Bhagavatam. We can't single out one particular verse and drive ourselves crazy. So yeah, I'm done here. I'm done. Would anyone like to speak? Stephanie, would you like to speak? You look very dharmic. You drive in the car with a drape.
This is my quiet, safe place I get on Sunday mornings.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, thank you for class this morning. And I think that's really important for me, that safe place, right? Like that comfort zone, especially when I feel like coming into Bhakti, it's everything's so new and different, right? We've been living this life of the complete opposite. Well, I have. And so, yeah, like being able to get higher and higher, I feel like just by turning on my camera and engaging these things that truthfully a lot of times feel really uncomfortable. Like I'm nervous. I don't know what to say as somebody, but by doing so, I feel like it just makes me grow and grow and grow. And so, yeah, that's like my goal is to just do things that feel really uncomfortable so I could grow. Cause I mean, at the end of my life, I didn't turn on my camera because I was nervous that somebody was going to think something of me. You know what I mean? It's really ridiculous. So that's what I try to think a lot, like of me on my deathbed. Like, would I be like, oh, I should have turned my camera on. I should have just done this so I could just come as close to Krishna as I possibly can. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, for being so sincere. Okay, would anyone else like to speak? Maybe you have a question. Maybe you'd like to reflect on maybe how you have felt burnt out one time. Maybe you got out of it. You'd like to give us some ideas on how to do it. No, nobody ever felt burnt out. Bhima Prabhu, you're frozen. You're not burnt out. You're
I'm not,
frozen.
I'm burnt. No.
Yeah, burnt fingers.
Well,
Bhima, the
we
burnt
used to
fingers.
say yeah. Um, we used to have a saying back in the day, um, uh, you're on fire. You're on fire, which means, of course, and of course, nowadays it's even an emoticon that's fire. We're bringing the smoke. So, yeah, being burnt out. I mean, for it. If it's something you love doing, Krishna, and then, of course, if you don't love doing something, then find something you love doing and add that in as well. Krishna is pleased with all our endeavors because of the love, because we're actually making a choice how we're going to spend the hours of our day. You know, that's what he pays attention to, what our choices are, not how big our endeavor is, but why we made a choice to spend a couple of hours reading Bhagavatam when you would rather scroll Instagram, or something like that. But
I wish they banned Instagram also. It would have been such a relief.
yeah, well,
And Facebook and all that.
Instagram, no, all of those can be used. I have come to understand that these things, if you've got an algorithm that's surrounded with Prabhupada lectures and Desire Tree and Veda Base, if you're constantly visiting those sites, all glories to Instagram and Meta for following that and then throwing more of that at you, so that no matter what you're scrolling, you're surrounded with Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya's mission. Because you're showing interest. They say you take one step towards Krishna, he takes countless towards you. He comes clear across the universe in a sort of a reverse Bali uh, um, story, where he's stepping to you one step clear across the universe to come get you when you make, one little, that's what we always say, Adi, and when we do our service and people come into our association or to Krishna's association for just a moment, just a night, one night, and then the next day maybe they go serve out, which is huge. And then from serving out, Das takes them over to the Bhakti Center, and next thing you know, they got beads in their hands and they got tears in their eyes because this is the first time they've ever seen God as beautiful and God as both man and woman, or masculine, feminine, and that there's this beautiful story. And guess what? All you have to do is chant, dance, feast, and love. This is all there is to it. It's really simple, you know, and then they go away and they might not see another devotee for years. That used to happen all the time, not for years. And then somehow Krishna throws a devotee in their way at the right time in their life, when they're ready to let go of everything in this world because nothing makes sense. This world sucks. If we knew what was going on in this on the four corners of this earth, then we would be really, really anxious to change ourselves to become part of what will change this world and the next. And I think it's all just such a simple process. I have no idea where I'm rambling off to here. I'm looking at the horses that are kicking the stalls. But what was the original question, Prabhu?
I forget. Oh no, it was about burnt out state of
Yeah, so there you
consciousness.
go. Just light yourself on fire first. Don't worry about getting burnt. Light yourself on fire. You know, pour that nectar all over you, like going to class and singing and hanging out with the devotes, with the fam, and that's the flammable substance, the ghee, the nectar, the anjana. Pour that all over you, and then go and then light yourself on fire with some kind of devotional service that you love. If it's just the simple art of garland making, or maybe you go out and you talk to people, you know, wealthy individuals who are pious that want to give money to help build a temple. Both are just as dear to Krishna. It's the widow's mite. The widow gave a one coin, and a rich man laughed, but it was all she had. But the rich man laughed at her and said to the priest, "Look at how little she gives, whereas I can give all this," and gave a bag of gold, which was about 1% of his wealth.
Thank you.
And the priest turned to him and said, "The widow has given much more than you can ever give." So just we can always remember a little thing in love is better than a great thing with little love. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhiman Prabhu. I love Adipurusha Prabhu's example of a lifeguard or a firefighter. Of the firefighter who walks into the fire literally. That's living on the edge. But look at all the gear that the firefighter has on them. Look at all the training that they take to get in that position. And the same goes for a lifeguard. They live on the edge, but they have the whistle, you know, they have that floaty, they have training, certificates, and all that. So living on the edge is possible. It just takes training and sometimes gear and practice, responsibility, camaraderie. All those things are necessary for living on the edge without burning out and drowning. Right, Anupam Prabhu?
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, they're also in great shape. Those guys, you know, they keep
Yeah.
fit. They keep themselves fit. You know, every single day they have their practice that they do, going to the gym, whatever, eating right. You know, so that when it comes down to it, then they can be in a dangerous situation, but come out on top. You know, and not get taken under the waves or consumed by the fire. You know, you can't take someone off the street and give them one class and say, yeah, now go save that person over there. It takes a steady effort over time, to get to that point where you can safely go into those situations. So it's a great analogy.
And thank you, Anupam Prabhu. Okay, let's take one more burning reflection from an introverted devotee. That's our preference. Please, if you feel introverted, unmute yourself and get out of your comfort zone. Live on the edge. Practice. Okay, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you. So, how about Amrita Kishori Devidasi? Please unmute yourself and reflect. We saw Amrita Kishori in person yesterday. It was wonderful. She may be in the Pujari room, that's right. She may be doing service. That's okay. So let's go to Poppy. Poppy, please. Are you available to speak? Poppy, Hare Krishna. Okay. Poppy's not available to speak. Dana Krishna's Radharani. I know you're available. Dana, please reflect or ask a question.
You're almost as good as
I mean,
Adi about putting people on the spot.
yeah. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I almost said episode. This class is really what I needed to hear today. I'm in that place right now and really have pushed myself in every aspect of life right now, and it's a very, very tough place to be, to accept that I have reached my capacity, because my ego wants to get involved and be like, that's not how we are. You gotta be tough. You gotta do this perfect. You gotta do that. And so I guess my thing is how to surrender and live in, like, really lean into Krishna in these moments where maybe I do need to just like collapse and take time to recalibrate and restore. And because if I do a little bit of rest, but then keep pushing too hard, then it's not really, I kind of chase my own tail. And so, but I'm also realizing that I'm not, it's kind of like the Draupadi story, like I'm holding on with one hand, but asking for Krishna, for help. And I'm trying to get to that place of putting both hands up and accepting that this is where I'm at, and that and not, and there's fear there, right? There's fear that I'll be stuck there, and that I'll always be like, whatever, you know, and, this isn't all aspects, but it comes down to when, I really want my spiritual practice to be the priority of my life, no matter what. And noticing the times when it's like, oh, dang it, like, Krishna didn't come first then, or he should have, or in the sense of trusting and accepting, like leaning into Krishna instead of me. I'm such a control freak. It's ridiculous. And so I don't know if any of that made any sense, but sorry for the rambles.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you. That was so sweet. We have a poet here, Bhima Prabhu. We have a poet here. Thank you, Dana. That was very sincere, poetic, and beautiful.
And you never
Devotional
would have got
sentiment.
that unless you never would have got that unless you were put yourself at risk by calling people out. And you called her out, and she stepped forward and said something very sweet and endearing, and probably will be remembered because she's speaking from her heart. That's really nice. The big thing is that we also have to understand in Krishna consciousness there is a big call for active service, like active physical, challenging risk taking. But the biggest risk is passive. It's actually contemplative. It's actually immersing yourself in thoughts of Krishna, in yearning, even if you have to do it silently, bringing your prayer, bringing whatever it is that's getting you down to Krishna personally. You don't have to run and jump to the temple. You don't even have to read Shastra. Of course, Shastra will guide you, and you have to remember Shastra because that's where Krishna places his signposts of faith. And you have to see those signposts to make sure that you're on the right road, on the right path. So, yeah, knowing what the acharyas have laid out before us, the breadcrumbs in this forest of illusion, we have to follow those and we have to partake of those breadcrumbs. But when somebody like uh, uh, I'm sorry, who was last speaking?
Dana Krishna's Radharani.
Dana. Oh, right, it's such a long Dana Krishna Radharani. Um, um, when somebody like that speaks, you can see that you know sometimes when we come to Krishna consciousness, we're not complicated yet by all the different active things we have to do. And we're just in this wonder stage, like a child, like coming in with with the lights in our eye, or with stars in our eyes, and looking at the deities and saying, I've never seen such a thing, and I've never seen such service, and I've never seen such happy people, and I've never seen such confident people. And that's all we need to remember all the way through to the end of our lives, are just those simple things. I've never seen such things. If we remind ourselves that there is nothing out here in this world that gets even close to giving us what Srila Prabhupada has given us and what Krishna is giving us, which is the highest, most beautiful form of love, and that's what we're all seeking. If we just remember that, like a kid, this is my home, these are my parents, this is my refrigerator, this is my bedroom. If we just remember this is the place, then we're doing service at all times, whether we're laying on our back listening to tunes, and the tune reminds us of Krishna because it's a love song. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, I'm rambling. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. Thank you. You're a devotional Rambo. Okay. Anupam Prabhu, would you like to summarize the class?
Yes. I would say that the whole material world is a big fake out, and don't fall for it again. Instead of going into a trance on Instagram or Facebook, whatever the things, we have the choice to go into an ecstatic trance on Krishna by hearing about him, glorifying him, and associating with his devotees. So every day we have to make that choice, but by coming out on top more times than we don't, then in the end we finish positive and are successful.
Great. Wonderful. We are not out, Anupam Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, who wants to say Hare Krishna, please? Vanisha, would you like to say Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. We love you. We need you. Happy Sunday.